And I think you were just talking about the future of humanity. And I want to honor you for your dedication in putting this presentation together. And I want to honor everybody on this channel all over the planet who have really stepped up in their life's purpose and who are bringing forward some incredible information. And behind the scenes, I also want to honor Michael Healy, who I've met a couple of years ago in Hong Kong, and the amount of effort and the amount of life passion and purpose that he puts into whatever he does is just unbelievable. So I'm so grateful that you've put that together, Michael, and allowed us to be here. My name is Michael. I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia, and my co-host is Kumara. He's also here in Vancouver. And if we could get Kumara into the call as well, that would be awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us.
So what we wanted to talk about today is 5G technology and how it really affects us in this time of global transformation. And while we're all sitting at home on our screens and glued to our computers and using this amazing technology, I'm not saying 5G technology, but wireless and Bluetooth and all of that, we also wanted to raise a little bit of a flag in terms of what are the potential health impacts of this technology. And so we really wanted to open this up to a conversation between Kumara and myself. And we've prepared a couple of slides and a video, but we just want to let it flow, and perhaps we can start by really explaining how we got into what we are doing right now. And so we have a company, it's called Force Field EMF, and we work with EMF mitigation, harmonization, and also creating the understanding and the education around this subject. And so Kumara, if I can talk for you, Kumara is EMS, electromagnetic. He has an electromagnetic sensitivity. And
EHS actually is the technical term. Okay. Electrohypersensitivity. Yeah.
Okay. And so I have 3 children at home that are sitting on the screen all day, and especially in this time of lockdown. I think everybody that has children, or perhaps looking at yourself, you know how much time you spend on digital devices. So at some point, I was really concerned because we have a few antennas that are looking at us from a building across the street. So we hired somebody that is professional, has very highly sensitive equipment, to come into our apartment to measure the electromagnetic radiation that is within our apartment. And the measurements were literally alarming. And I had no idea how much of this exposure I was experiencing. And so at the same time, we were working on a different project that also has to do with technology, with a scientist coming out of the Netherlands, who potentially has the capacity to revolutionize medicine as we know it. And at the end of one of our conversations, we said, well, we're really concerned about EMF. We want to do something about it. We want to educate people, and we want to raise awareness. And he said to us, well, I just developed a device. That was 4 months ago, that not only harmonizes and mitigates EMF radiation, but it also turns it into positive bioavailable energy in our bodies. So he sent us a couple of samples of what's called the force field card. And after receiving it, and after wearing it for a couple of days, I all of a sudden had this flash that I was looking back at to what I had been doing in terms of energy and work and throughout the day. And I thought, wow, it's really interesting. I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I still have energy. And so all of a sudden it was almost like a flashback that I realized how much more energy I had. And at that point, I realized that I had a sensitivity to EMF as well. And I believe that I can say that we all have a sensitivity to EMF radiation. It's just a matter of how does it manifest in your body. So if you think that you have problems focusing or problems sleeping, or if you experience physical pain, that might be different levels of manifestation of that electromagnetic frequency radiation or the toxic soup. And so if I can bring it back to the frog analogy, if you have a frog in water and you turn up the heat, the frog would not know its imminent threat and ultimately will die and boil to death. And so I believe that the same thing happened with me. I was a frog in the water, not knowing that I was actually in there and not knowing how warm the temperature is. And so what we really want to bring forward is a little bit of the scientific background, what actually happens to us in our physical human body through the exposure of EMF radiation or disharmonic EMF radiation, because there's EMF is not created equally. There is some that is supportive to our physical, mental, emotional, human body, and then there is EMF radiation that is actually harmful. And maybe I can pass it off to Kumara.
Thanks, Michael. Yes, about almost 5 years ago, I identified having electrohypersensitivity when I started getting like weird headaches, because I'm usually pretty healthy and I do a lot of running and a lot of physical activity and really eat naturally, get a lot of proper rest. But you know, as time went on, there was a lot of I thought, well, there's a disturbance somewhere. I don't know if it's a field thing or if it's something that I reintroduced to my diet, but I couldn't figure out why. And I had another friend who I'd lost touch with for a little bit, and we got reacquainted, and he told me everything that he went through. I didn't know he was electrohypersensitive. To skip a long story, we ended up finding an off-grid property because we knew that the city was getting more and more difficult to be living in and operating our business and personal lives in. So what we did was we spent 8 months finding a property in South Central BC where there was no possibility of cell towers going up because it was so remote. It's so remote. So we do have a place there right now, and that's my place of respite. I am able to come back to the city because of the tools and I would say the solutions that I had put together over the years, not only for myself, but also for other friends and friends of friends, acquaintances that knew they were somewhat electrohypersensitive. They were looking into it. So I thought, well, I'll shield your room and you'll feel it. There are different mitigation processes. First, we have to detect. That's the first thing. We have to identify what kinds of frequencies are coming in using a tri-field meter and other meters like electrosmog meters and unidirectional Gauss meters. First, identify it. Then we do the treatment, and then we have to test, and then we have to re-educate, because they have to really understand that once they shield their rooms or their spaces, workspaces or personal spaces, no one can have any device that emits radiation inside these safe zones that we create of respite. because anything that emits from a phone that's looking for a signal starts to emit even stronger. So it becomes like a little microwave oven, like a bedroom. So it's a lot of training, but when it comes to the understanding the different forces and modulations and carrier waves and how they operate in the field and how to harmonize them, that became a little bit more exciting with me coming together not too long ago with Michael. We have common friends. We've known each other for some years, and we've come together to work. And there's this unification of knowledge and a higher acumen in intelligent science. And we are very interested in, really bridging the gap between ancient knowledge and the new technologies that we're implementing in our lives that's supposed to be improving our lives. But on the other hand, on many levels, from safety, because of radiation that has effects on the body, like voltage-gated calcium channels. We can get into that with a video later. There is the social norms and abnorms, because, when someone is actually electrohypersensitive so severely that people don't see their illness and they are being pigeonholed into being, or they're being called lunatics or crazy people, or it's just in your head, it's like something wrong with you, that leads to depression. So there are many levels to the mishaps that we are going through right now. But because of all these things, and because of even science that has been going on since 1970s, like from Dr. Martin Powell, who actually came up with voltage-gated calcium channels and the pyroxynitrate pathways, I thought, well, we should talk to doctors and let's have them on our show. And then, so everything's moving so fast. And yeah, so that's a little bit of a background. I don't know, I think that's where we want to go, right, Michael?
Yeah, and you just mentioned our show. So what we actually did in the last few months is we created a website, Force Field EMF. We also started a show on Awake TV Network.live every Wednesday at 12 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time here in Vancouver. And we are really, really committed to creating the understanding through science, through experiences, and with the highest level of researchers and medical doctors and scientists that we're able to bring onto that show to really create that understanding. And just an anecdotal thing, my ex-partner's son, now in self-isolation, she had asked him to do research on the negative effects of EMF radiation. And he's 15 years old. He came back a couple of days later and said, "Mom, I couldn't find anything. The World Health Organization says it's safe." And based on the research and based on the conversations that we had with scientists, there was this alarming discrepancy between what is out there in the public and through the media and potentially through the World Health Organizations or health organization, and what scientists are actually measuring and experiencing and researching. And so we're kind of stumbled around this discrepancy of where those two realities meet each other. And unless you have a personal experience with it, you're never going to be able to actually determine what are the effects. And so to me, with this card, that was for me one tool to experience what EMF radiation actually does to the physical human, or physical, emotional, and mental human body, to the fact where I need potentially 30% less sleep and I have 40% more energy throughout the day. I feel super on focus. I feel in my full purpose. And so with the website, we also started to support a petition of Arthur, what's his last name?
I can't remember his last name, sorry.
I forgot his last name. It's on
That's
our
okay.
website.
On our website.
Arthur Finken, I forget his last name. He's done amazing work for the last few years. He's collected over 260,000 signatures on a moratorium to stop the further rollout or the implementation of 5G technology. And I believe that in this day and age, we need to really take a step back and educate ourselves around the dangers and the harm that this technology has. And this technology has amazing capacity and potential for humanity. I'm thinking about remote surgery. I'm thinking about robots swimming through the ocean, cleaning up the ocean, knowing the difference between plankton and plastic, or planting trees in remote areas. And this technology could be so beneficial to humanity, but in the end, if it's harmful to a physical human body, then we might have to question it or find alternatives as to how we can actually implement that. And 5G technology doesn't stand for a specific bandwidth of frequencies. It simply stands for the 5th generation of wireless technology. So within the 5G bandwidth, or the frequency range, are also frequencies that are more harmful for the body, and there's frequencies that are less harmful to the body.
Well, on the aggregate level too, because it's 20 to 100 times the rate of pulsation in the millimeter wave pattern. And we can't get away from it. So we thought, well, I'm really looking for something that would harmonize. There are many tools out there. They're very expensive. However, the ones that landed on our lap, I was kind of trying to track it, but it kind of fell onto our lap. So it was kind of like a prayer come true. Like, yeah, these cards, he's got a white one, I got a blue one here. It acts like a tuning fork. So if you got a wave here, this will only tune to what body. So I'd like to show a couple videos that will probably total 8 minutes, and we're halfway through. So if you want to get some more stuff of your list, you want me to show that?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm gonna share my screen first, and I'll give you some background. This one is a 3-minute video, and the other one's a little bit longer. So I'll share my screen. And
Understanding EMF, Research and Health Effects. Virtually all studies cited by telecom companies and governments looking at whether EMF is harmful or not almost exclusively investigate the thermal effects of the EMF. The ICNIRP, International Commission of Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection, has drawn up standards for this. For the inner body temperature, the standard is based on the natural fluctuation in body temperature. The standard for type 1 tissue, which includes the limbs, has been set at an increase of a maximum of 5 degrees Celsius. In type 2 tissue, which includes the head and abdomen, the natural temperature is somewhat higher, and the standard has therefore been set at an increase of a maximum of 2 degrees Celsius. In determining these standards, only the thermal effects of the EMF radiation are considered, and other negative effects of this radiation are ignored. There is enough evidence to substantiate that EMF does have harmful effects due to non-thermal effects. These non-thermal effects can be divided into 2 categories: the neurological disorders and physical disorders. Neurological disorders include stress, depressive symptoms, and headache. The physical disorders that are associated with EMF radiation include a decrease in sperm quality and damage to cells and DNA. These effects have been established by, among others, studied by Martin L. Paul. Paul's research has established that EMF is partly responsible for an increased uptake of calcium in cells, the so-called calcium influx. People who are sensitive to radiation and therefore have developed tinnitus can be treated with calcium blockers. These are drugs that were initially developed against cardiac arrhythmias. The symptoms of the tinnitus disappear as a result, which is an indication of the increased calcium influx under the influence of EMF. The special properties of water. Looking at a water molecule, we see that it consists of one oxygen atom that is negatively charged and two oxygen atoms that are positively charged. Together, these atoms provide a neutral water molecule. Due to the positioning of the oxygen atom on one side of the hydrogen atoms, the water molecule has a polarized property. The molecule therefore acts as a kind of magnet. The oxygen atom is the negative pole and the hydrogen atoms the positive pole. Water can build structures due to its polarized property. The most stable and important structure that it can build is the hexagonal structure that resembles a honeycomb in a bee's nest. This structure is the most stable form in which water wants to organize itself because it is the most energy efficient structure to maintain. In summary, there are supportive harmonic frequencies and unsupportive disharmonic frequencies. The harmonic frequencies help build and maintain the natural hexagonal structure of water, and the disharmonic frequencies disturb and break down this structure. This happens especially when the disharmonic frequencies are stronger and more present than the harmonic.
I think that was the end of the video. The quality, at least coming through here, is a little bit distorted.
Okay, thank you for that feedback, Michael.
When I learned that specifically 5G technology has an influence on the structural, on the hexagonal structure of the water molecules in our bodies, I started to question everything. I started to question whether this technology actually has an effect on life itself. Water is the key component to everything in life. It is that which holds information, transports information, and it's the basic building block. And so if we as humanity are playing and manipulating this capability of water, I think we are playing with life itself. And so this is why I see the most detrimental impact, or the most detrimental effects on human beings. And so if our body is not able to communicate to its optimal level because some of the structure within it is broken, then we're leaving our bodies open to vulnerability, including reduced immune system, because our body has to make up for that which is lost within it.
That's correct. And, you know, it's not only human beings that are being affected by this, it's also the fauna and flora. So if you want me to show the seed experiment from the Netherlands, did you want me to show that, or we could skip it? It doesn't
Sure.
matter.
Yeah, we can show it. Awesome.
And then I'll let you explain it because you have a good understanding. But I created the slide not too long ago, so if there's a bit of confusion, please pardon us and just let me know, Michael.
Yeah.
There you go.
So what we're looking here is a dish with seeds, and we were looking at the germination of those seeds in the same controlled environment. The only difference was one or two dishes were exposed to the force field card, the harmonizing or the harmonizing technology, and the other ones weren't. All of those cards were exposed to a wireless telephone. And so over time, we can see that the germination on day 4 and day 6 was 3 times, if not 4 times higher than that without the card, which means that the exposure to harmful EMF radiation simply from a wireless cordless phone on the seed germination, on life itself, has a major impact. And so again, if we go back to the frog analogy, is we take everything for granted that happens around us. We take nature for granted. We take the growth of plants for granted. And we take our human body for granted in a sense that we don't really know what is going on within us, because we can't hear, we can't smell, we can't taste, and we can't touch that EMF radiation. And so I'm just putting out there, what would happen? What would nature be like if we wouldn't have that radiation? How fast, how much better would the plants grow that are not exposed to that toxic soup? And how much better would we, each and one of us, feel if we weren't exposed to it? So coming back to, I think, our life's purpose and what we really want to bring forward is we want to educate people around the possible harmful effects of EMF radiation. And we're also providing a tool that protects people from EMF radiation, harmful EMF radiation.
While we deepen our further understanding from a scientific level and how all biology and how the whole entire biome of the planet, including the waters and the land and all the animals, the difference between being in the wild and being in the city. There are distinct differences. And it does take about 3 to 10 days for me to gain probably about 20 to 50% more strength physically. I can actually pick up a small tree that I can't, the same tree in the city. Once I go to the city, it only takes 2 days for me to become weaker again. But with certain tools like this card, other tools too, that I use a pulsed electromagnetic frequency mat. That one's a lot more expensive. It's an $8,000 model. Not everyone can access it. But the beautiful thing about, portable tools like this at solid state, doesn't take any batteries, that I know works for me. It may or may not work for everyone, but I would say out of 100 people that I've shared it with, they wanted one because it affected them. I would say a good 80% said there's absolutely something going on, and the last 20% says, I need more time with it because I think I can feel something, but I just need more time. So,
Kumara, can we also talk about other measurements that people can take to protect themselves?
Yes, absolutely. You can wire everything in. It's actually faster when you use an Ethernet cable. I also wire in my cell phone, put it on airplane mode, and I wire it in. I go into the deep settings. I go into the director settings, turn on the it looks like a USB debugging. There's so much information that you can actually dig for, and I'm going to do my best to curate some information in our education section that we're going to build upon with scientists on our website, so that it could be made available on how people can, you know, some people can't leave the city and they're stuck there. I went to great lengths to leave the city and set up an off-grid property, so I can at least get a bit of respite every, at least every 1 to 2 months. I have to leave for about 10 days.
I just want to respond to a question here on the chat, and it says, "Do we really need it?" That's the real question. I don't know whether you really need it. I can only tell you from my experience what this card did for me in order to step out of the I'm coming back to the frog in the water analogy. I didn't realize how much it affected me, and I don't drink. I eat healthy food. I prepare my own food. I meditate. I have a fairly healthy lifestyle, and I take my dogs out five times a day for a walk. I'm in nature. Yet there was something that was so unexplainable to me, and now I'm experiencing my reality. I'm not saying completely different, but I'm experiencing it different, and
I saw that.
Even my connection to the higher, my connection to consciousness, I would say.
But Michael, there was a correction on that one. She was talking about 5G. Do we really need 5G? And she probably read my mind, because I was thinking, I'll tell you what we don't need is 5G.
I don't think we need 5G.
We don't. Just wire in. It's actually faster, less hackable, healthier.
And are there any other questions for us at this time?
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. This is quite an opportunity, and I'm so happy that you guys created this. It's fantastic. In the world of COVID, we came together. Like, this is amazing. Yeah, look at the positives.
Yeah,
and heart coherence has something to do with it too. That's another show.
I think one thing that we can all do is, if we want to get organized around stopping 5G, go to our website, click on the link, the appeal or petition, sign the petition, write to your government. I just sent off a letter, which is also on our website, to all members of the government of Canada and about 120 members of the Canadian press. That was a week ago. Yesterday, I got one response from an assistant of one of the MPs, pretty much telling me that I should do more research because the technology hasn't been proven harmful. And on our website is also a link to a document, or the document is a declassified CIA document from 1977, declassified in 2012, that shows research going back to the 1970s of the harmful effects of EMF, short wave radiation. And if that is not proof enough, then